Hello everyone, my name is Vimal Raj. I'm a lecturer from James Polytechnic College from Department Mechanical. So today we're going to discuss on the unit number 3, that is non-ferrous metals and alloys. This is lecture number 16, and today we're going to discuss about the properties, applications, chemical composition of copper alloys. And this is from the subject called Mechanical Engineering Materials. The subject code is 1625304. The contents that we're going to discuss today is properties, applications of chemical compositions of copper alloy, naval brace, Munz metal, gunmetal, and bronzes. So first we'll go for the classification of materials. So basically metals are classified into ferrous and non-ferrous. So ferrous we have already discussed in the previous unit. So if anybody doesn't know, but you can see the videos. And today we're going to discuss about the non-ferrous. So basically non-ferrous is classified as the copper and its alloy, aluminum and its alloy, zinc and its alloy. So basically non-ferrous are classified as copper and its alloy, aluminum and its alloy, and zinc and its alloy. So introduction. So ferrous alloys are consumed in exceeding large quantities because they have such a wide range of mechanical properties and can be fabricated with relative ease and or economical to produce. However, they possess some distinct limitations, chiefly a relatively high density, therefore heavier in weight, a comparatively low electrical conductivity, and a inherent susceptibility to corrosion in some common environments. So basically, these ferrous alloys are consumed in extremely large quantity because of their wide range of mechanical property. Why these ferrous alloys are used is because they have a wide range of mechanical properties. So thus for many applications it is advantageous or even necessary to utilize other alloys. Example, non-ferrous alloys having more suitable property combinations. So basically non-ferrous alloys will be having more suitable combinations. Property combinations will be there in the non-ferrous alloys. On occasion, a distinction is made between cast and wrought alloy, alloy that are so brittle that forming or shaping by appreciable deformation is not possible ordinarily or caused. They are classified as cast alloys. On the other hand, those that are enabled to mechanical deformations are termed as wrought alloys. So guys, you can just read this definition itself because this is the definition that is for the topic. So in addition, the heat treat ability of an alloy system is mentioned frequently. Heat treatable designates an alloy whose mechanical strength is improved by precipitation, hardening, etc. So non-ferrous metals alloys are not iron based. So basically these non-ferrous metals are not iron based, so the iron content will not be there, only the other contents. So these are the common non-ferrous materials are the following metallic elements and their alloys. So copper, they use this copper, aluminum, magnesium, lead, nickel, tin, cobalt. Okay, so they use this zinc. Only these materials have been used in the following materials because there will not be any iron based contents. Next one is the first one is the copper. So the main grades of raw copper used for cast copper base alloys are high conductivity copper. The first one is the high conductivity copper. So basically this high conductivity copper is nothing but having not less than 99% of copper. That means the copper percentage will be 99.9%, which is not less than, and the oxygen content may be of around 0.40%. Okay, and lead is about, lead and ferrous will be about less than 0.005% each, and Ag is about 0.2% and Bi is less than 0.1%. Electrolytic copper is used for electrical purposes. Next one is the deoxidized copper, wherein which having not less than 99.85% copper, less than 0.05% of AS, and 0.03% of ferrous, and 0.003% of Bi. Other elements may be of the order. So you could see from this, these are the percentages. Next one is the arsenical deoxidized copper, which is having 0.4% AS and 0.04%, and remaining is copper. Arsenic pitch copper is having 0.4 as arsenic. So these are the combinations. You can see this oxygen free copper, which contains only 0.005% of lead, 0.01% of nickel. Likewise, and these are the properties. So copper possess following properties. The first one is the excellent resistance to corrosion. So basically this is a one of the material which is really good in resisting the corrosion, because iron has this corrosive properties, and even so many things have this corrosive properties. So but copper is very good resistance in very good resistance towards the corrosion. And it does not possess any magnetic property, so it's a non-magnetic property. So copper which if you keep it near the magnetic, which will not be attracted towards any magnet, so because it has a non-magnetic properties. Next one it is, which is very easy to work, because it is ductile and malleable. So ductility and malleability, we all know what is all about. So it can be shaped, it can be formed to any shape without any breakage. Okay, so moderate to high hardness and strength. So this strength is something which is very moderate, I would say. It is not hard like iron, but it is moderate, which is capable of handling this high strength and hardness. High thermal and electrical conductivity. So basically, it has high thermal and electrical conductivity. So that's a good sign. So it can be easily polished, plated, and possess a pleasing appearance. So basically, it can be polished very easily, and which can also be plated and possess a pleasing appearance. Next one is resistant to fatigue. So it has a resistant to fatigue and abrasion and corrosion. So it can be soldered, brazed, or welded. So basically, it can also be soldered, brazed, and welded, and which is very good machine. It has a very good machine ability. Use of forming alloys with other elements like zinc, or zinc, aluminum, phosphorus, so many things are there. So copper is used for the following. So basically, copper has been used in this following like electrical parts. They use copper wires, the wires and all. They use copper wires. Heat exchangers. They act as heat exchangers. This has screw machine products. So they use for the screw machine products as well, for making various copper alloys such as brass and bronze. Use this, and household utensils like copper, yeah, vessels and all will be there, right? So they use this outside. So also, next one is the copper alloys. So basically, copper alloy is nothing but copper normally possesses excellent corrosion resistance, electrical and thermal conductivity, and formability. So basically, some copper alloys combines high strength. So basically, these copper alloys will have this high corrosion resistance, which is a good sign, and as well as which is really having good thermal and electrical conductivity and formability. Some copper alloys combine high strength and corrosion resistance. A combination desirable for marine applications. Some copper alloys, because of their wearing properties, high hardness or corrosion resistance, are used as a surfacing metals. Some copper alloys are selected for decorative applications because of the appearance. Elements such as aluminium, zinc, tin, beryllium, nickel, silicon, lead, etc. form alloys with copper. So copper alloys may be classified as brasses, alloys of copper and zinc. So this is a combination. So brass is nothing but alloy of copper and zinc. Bronze is up to 12% of following elements, and copper, cupro nickel is something alloys of copper and nickel. Nickel, silver is alloy for copper and zinc and nickel and zinc. So firstly the brasses. Brasses contain zinc as a principal alloying element. So basically the brass material will have the zinc as the zinc as the principal alloying element. And brass are subdivided into three groups, that is copper zinc alloys, copper lead zinc alloys or leaded brass, copper zinc mission alloys or tin brass. Okay, so brass has high resistance to corrosion. So these metals also will have a good corrosion resistance and it's easily machinable. That means in the machine and all we can use this metal in order to do any transform, any shape changing or this kind of things. We can easily do it with the machines, because some materials when you use with the machines it might tend to break. So but here it will not. It also acts as a good bearing material. So it also acts as a good bearing materials. So zinc in the brass increases ductility along with strength. So zinc in the brass increases ductility along with the strength. So brass possesses greater strength than copper. So brass possesses greater strength than copper. However, it has a lower thermal and electrical conductivity. So brass has the greater strength comparatively than with copper, but the problem with copper brass is it has low thermal and electrical conductivity. So various types of brass are discussed below. So these are the uh, gilding metals, cartridge, cartridge brass, admiralty brass, aluminum brass, basis brass. So basically, they use brass in so many things because it is a lower conductor of thermal and electricity, so heat cannot pass through this particular material. So it is a good sign. So that's the reason they use this brass. The gilding metals. The gilding metal covers a range from 5 to 15% of zinc and possess shades of colors from the red of copper to brassy yellow. Cartridge brass normally contains 70% copper and 30% zinc. So in the fully annealed condition, it has a tensile strength of over 300 Newton per millimeter square. And Admiralty brass contains 71% copper, 28% of zinc, and 1% of tin. So the small amount of tin added to brass improves its resistance to certain type of corrosion. Basically, why they had only 1% of tin is in order to improve the resistance towards the corrosion. So the aluminum brasses contain 76% of copper, 22% of zinc, and 2% of aluminum, a little arsenic. Sorry, uh, in this arsenic, so a little percent of arsenic added to inhibit uh, this dezincification. So dezincification is nothing but in order to have the in order to adding the a little arsenic on the. So basis brass is nothing but it contains copper of around 61.5%, 64%. The remainder being zinc. So basic process is used for press work where it is relatively cheap material is required, and the main commercial forms are sheets, strips, and wires. So they use this basis brass for the making of sheet, strips, and wires. So metal or yellow metal contains 60% of copper and 40% of zinc, and is essentially a hard working material. It is manufactured in the form of hot rolled plates and hot rolled or extruded section in a great varieties of shapes and size. Yellow metal is frequently used as a bracing alloy of steel. So basically this metal is having 60% of copper and 40% of zinc, and leaded is 60 is to 40 bars. That is, it is a chief material fed to automatic lathes and similar machines. So basically this leaded material is used in automatic lathes and similar machines, usually in the form of extruded bars. So lead is added to copper zinc alloy to promote machinability. The lead content ranges from about 0.5% to as much as 3.5%. Naval base, it contains copper 60%, zinc 39.25%, and lead is about, sorry, tin is about 0.75%. The purpose of tin is to improve the resistance to corrosion. We all know why tin is added. Tin is added to in order to have a good resistance towards the corrosion. Next is bronzes. Bronzes is a broad term defining an alloy of copper and elements other than nickel and zinc. Bronze is basically an alloy of copper and tin. Bronze possesses superior mechanical properties and corrosion resistance than brass. Bronze is comparatively hard and it resists surface wear. So the excess phosphorus which exists in a solid solution uh, materially increases the hardness and strength of the alloy, but it does so at the expense of the liquid. So this is a combination wherein the phosphorus contain approximately 4% of each of the 10. Lead zinc has excellent free cutting characteristics. So many things are there. So you can see it from this itself. So I'll just skip on this and we'll just go to the next slide. So aluminum bronze have the following composition, that is copper, aluminum, ferrous, and tin. 89% of copper, aluminum 7%, ferrous is about 3.5%, and here 91%, 6.8%, 1.52 to 1.5. So aluminum bronze possesses the following properties: good strength, high corrosion resistance, good heat resistance, good cold working properties. Aluminum bronze finds the following uses: bearing gears, side valves, imitation jewelry, valve set. So aluminum bronze is used in this imitation jewelry. Now they use this uh, aluminum bronze. So silicon bronze is having like 1 to 4% silicon, and ferrous is about 0.45 to 1%, and manganese is 0.25 to 1.25, whereas the remaining will be copper. So lead when added to 0.5 improves the machinability. Basically, they are adding 0.5% of lead in order to improve the machinability. So even though when it's been used in the machines, it will not break. Silicon bronzes possess high strength and toughness as that of the mild steel and corrosion resistance as that of copper. Silicon bronzes finds the following uses: bearing, roll mill sleepers, turnable bushing marines, hardware, base tips, screws, downers, bodies, parts, etc. So gunmetal. So gunmetal is an alloy of copper, tin, and zinc. So basically, gunmetal is nothing but it's a combination of alloy of copper, tin, and zinc. So zinc cleans the metal and increases its fluidity. A small amount of lead may be added to improve castability and machinability. Admiralty gunmetal. It contains 10% of lead, 2% of zinc, 1.5% of lead, sorry, essence tin, right? So P is 1.5% of nickel and the balance copper. So it has tensile strength of around 260 to 340 Newton per millimeter square. It is widely used for pumps, valves, miscellaneous casting used for the tertiary. So nickel gunmetal, this is a combination. See, I don't want to bore you guys with just reading out all those things, because this is the actual thing I just want to tell you, because I cannot go and explain all those things. So this is just the content you have to understand. Okay. So with that, we just come to the conclusion. So today we'll discuss about the properties, applications, chemical composition, copper alloys, all the things. Reference books. Thank you guys. Thank you for listening to the videos.